Yet again, we had another wild weekend of NFL playoffs, but by far the most controversial play and most memorable play will come in the Broncos versus the Bills and Paige Dimakos. The question is simple: was it a catch or was it an interception?
By the rules that I've known in the NFL, it's a catch. I'm sorry, Bills fans. You guys, you never want to see games end the way it did, and you sure as hell don't want to see them over officiated. And you'll see whether it's Dan Orlovsky, Richard Sherman, everybody on social media seems to be in agreement. I'm assuming, other than Broncos fans, who are definitely going to be happy that they got that call. This was a catch. It's a catch 99.9% of the time. And I guess the 0.1% is this call. The referees are going to hear about it. It's definitely going to be a topic of discussion at the committee meetings when that happens in the NFL owners. It reminds me a lot of how that Saints-Rams game ended quite a few years ago, if you remember, in the postseason that I think it was a pass interference call
Pass
at the end.
interference call. Yep.
Yep. It feels very similar to that in the gravity, right, of the conversation around one individual call really dictating the entire, obviously the entire end of one season. So yeah, to me, it's a catch. I don't like that ended a game. That's probably the thing I'm most upset about. And I'm sorry for Bills fans, but yeah, most times, Keith, it's a catch.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with this. By the NFL rule book, it's a catch. By my rule book, it's an interception. Is it too hard to ask the wide receivers to come down with the football and then get up with the football, right? Like in that situation, Brandon Cooks might have had possession of the football by half a second, right? Which in the NFL rule book, that is a catch. But to the plain eye, that's an interception, right? The
Yeah.
defensive back rolled over and got up clearly with the football. I think we let the offensive players off the hook way too easily. That if you touch the football and you barely graze the ground, then you have the football. No, we're talking about grown ass men, the elite of the elite athletes. Hold on to the football and get up with it. And if you can't get up with the football, then you know what we need to do? We need to go lift some weights at the end of the day, right? We need to get back in the weight room. I think that it was properly called by my rule book, but I get it by the NFL rule book. We've seen that play 100 times, and I disagree with it 100 times, but it's always been a catch that has went to the offensive player.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Bills fans. This is something I've heard from a lot of coaches. You never want to
Uh-huh.
give the referees an opportunity to make a decision to end your season. So the
Yep.
only way to do that is to leave no doubt. And you leave no doubt by making the play, holding on to the ball, and not allowing the DB to take the ball out of your hands. And there was a play that happened in the Bears game with Devontae Adams and Nashawn Wright, literally almost exactly the same, and they call it a catch to Devontae Adams. So I get it. I understand you're probably frustrated because you're watching this and you're going, this is what we're used to seeing. And by the letter of the law, yes, that is a catch by what we have known the NFL catch rule to be. The problem is the NFL catch rule is probably the most subjective rule that we have, because I can remember back when I first started off in media making a video called What is a Catch? And I still don't know what a damn catch is. I'm
Mhm.
going to be honest.
Yep.
And the NFL doesn't know what one is either. They continue to figure out it's the 2 steps in a football move. It's the 3 steps in a football move. It's the holding.
Two,
Did Dez catch the
two,
football?
one,
We
one elbow equals 2 feet. Which
That's
and you tell
which
me,
is
in
stupid.
what world does one elbow equal
Thank
two
you.
feet in anything we're doing, right?
Thank you. One knee equals 2 feet, one elbow equals 2 feet. I'm like, so what exact, like, where does the anatomy of the body start changing here? Like, there's way too many technicalities to me with the catch rule. And since you and I like to do, if the draft club was the commissioners of the NCAA, why don't, let's just play it out. If Keith and Paige were the commissioners of the NFL, what would we do? We would make it a common sense rule. Okay.
Mhm.
Common sense means when I watch it, if you were in the playground and this happened, how would it get called? If I took the ball out of your hands, it's an interception, period. That's what's happening. And that's the logical thing. I get that that's not what's called. And I know that Bills fans are going to be very upset that it came down to that. But the reality is, you lost this game for a lot of reasons. And I know it's really easy to blame that last play, but there were many, many missteps not just in this game, but leading up to this game that you could blame. And you gotta let it ride, man. It's gonna be a hot topic every single day from here on out. I'm sure Bills Mafia is going to just absolutely annihilate the NFL headquarters with hate mail. But unfortunately, it didn't go their way, and their season is over.
Yep, you said one thing. You said blame, right? And there's enough blame to go around. I want to ask this though: the Buffalo Bills losing this playoff game to the Denver Broncos. How much should we blame Josh Allen in this loss?
So we did this on our last show, or maybe 2 shows ago, where we put the blame, and we did tier 1, tier 2, tier 3.
Oh, for the
If I
Philadelphia Eagles. Yep.
Yes, with the Philadelphia Eagles, we decided who's the most to blame. To me, if I'm looking at the Buffalo Bills and the failure of this season, because the goal obviously every year is to win a Super Bowl, but the way things set up for them this year, it was really for the taking, right? And when I look at this season as a whole, not just that game, I think the top blame goes to GM Brandon Bean. The second blame goes to Sean McDermott. And third and lastly, and I don't even like putting it on him, but it's Josh Allen. And unfortunately, he had a rough game. He turned the ball over. He did a lot of things that, we've seen him kind of grow out of as he's excelled into this elite version of who he is. But the reality is, this team wasn't very good. And you and I talked about it all year long, that this roster was not good enough. And at the
Mhm.
trade deadline, we begged Brandon Bean, please go get somebody. And that was before the Keon Coleman shenanigans. We were begging for that to happen. And so I think when you look at this team overall, you have to look at the other, heavy hitters, the Ravens, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, the Joe Burrow. What has happened for all of those guys? All of those organizations have gone out and got their guys more superstars, more players, gone and taken shots on getting guys and adding to their offensive roster. I don't understand how the Buffalo Bills have managed to just slowly but surely get less explosive and less stacked on offense when you have a guy like Josh Allen. It just doesn't make sense to me, Keith. So I would love to hear from you, obviously, on how much blame you put on Josh. But when I look at this, it's hard for me to just say this is Josh's fault, because there's so many things that have happened that led up to this moment. And I didn't expect this roster to win a Super Bowl because, quite frankly, it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with a saying that I always say, right? Is that some teams they're so worried about winning tomorrow that they
Yep.
forget to win today. And the Buffalo Bills are a classic cliche to fitting that, right? It's always been about the cap management and what team are we going to be able to field next year, right? Now
Yep.
you're into a situation where Josh Allen turns 30, right? It felt like it was just a couple years ago that Josh Allen was 25 and you felt like you had another 10, 15 years with him. Well, guess what? You're about halfway into his career now, right? And now he's about to touch the back seven of his career. You have no Super Bowl appearances, not even just Super Bowls, period, but no Super Bowl appearances with Josh Allen. Now, who do I blame in this situation? I'm gonna go to general manager first, right? I'm gonna go to general manager first, and then I'm gonna go Josh Allen. The reason I put the general manager ahead of Josh Allen is because you know your quarterback. You know your quarterback, right? And he's the same guy that entered the league. He had turnover issues, right? And that
Yep.
was something that got resolved over time. But you also know the fact that when he doesn't have the requisite weapons, and you also learned that earlier this year, he didn't have the requisite weapons, he was going to press a little bit more. He was
Yep.
going to have turnovers. He was going to throw the football into double coverage and triple coverage to try to make something happen. That's who he is, right? If you want to compare Josh Allen to a Brett Favre-esque type of football player, right? Like that's just what he does. He's a risk taker. He's a gunslinger. So I look at the general manager and I put him first, and then I put Josh Allen because the fumble right before the half and the ball ends up going the other way, that was a big deal, right? Like that's a big
Huge.
3 points off of the board when you're playing one of the better defenses. And what you have to say? Jump in.
So on that part specifically, I put all the blame in that moment on Sean McDermott, because you have no timeouts, Keith, and
Mhm.
22 seconds left. Need the ball and go to the half. You're getting the ball. You are literally getting the ball coming out of the half. Why that was to me a moment where, as the head coach on the sideline, you got to know your guy, man. What were you expecting to happen with no timeouts there? That makes no sense. You don't have any timeouts. You thought you were going to go march down the field and get points. That's problem number one. Problem number two is all the things you just said about Brandon Beane. You know who should know him even better than Brandon?
Right.
Sean McDermott. And you know that he is going to, in a moment where he has to become not only Superman, but he has to put it all on his back. That puts you in a spot to make a mistake. And why would you do that with less than 30 seconds left and no timeouts? It made, to me, I looked at that and I wrote as I'm watching the game, this might cost Sean McDermott his job. That's what I wrote down. Because in most situations in the NFL over the last 100 years, until the last few years where everybody's decided to be ultra aggressive offensively, you're kneeing the ball. You're not even thinking about it. There's 22 seconds left, knee the ball, go to the half. You're going to get the ball to start the second half. That was a total momentum swing. The fact that they bounced back and took that game to overtime after that moment, I was actually really surprised because it was such a bad decision that was a gut punch to me, to the Buffalo Bills, that I put that all on Sean McDermott because you know your guy and you got to protect him in that situation.